My headlights illuminated footprints on the asphalt, fresh, wet, and leading nowhere. I slowed without meaning to, my foot easing off the accelerator as if my body had decided before my mind caught up. The road ahead was empty, a narrow ribbon of dark pavement cutting through dense forest and low fog. The beams of my headlights carved a shallow tunnel, revealing mist swirling lazily at bumper height, then vanishing again into black. The footprints sat squarely in the middle of my lane. They were unmistakable, bare feet, heel-arched toes, clear enough that I could see the slight drag where weight had shifted forward. Water pooled in the impressions, gleaming silver-white under the lights. They looked minutes old. Seconds, maybe. I stopped the car. The engine idled. A low, steady vibration I felt through the steering wheel. Somewhere beyond the reach of the headlights, something moved in the forest. A branch creaking, leaves whispering against one another. No wind touched the fog near the road, though. It hung there, unmoving, like breath held too long. I leaned forward, squinting. The footprints didn't come from either shoulder. There was no disturbance in the gravel, no scuff marks where someone might have stepped onto the asphalt. They simply began. 5 steps in, perfectly centered. And after a dozen paces, they ended just as cleanly, fading into dry, unmarked road. No stumble, no turn, no sign of where the person had gone. My pulse picked up. I glanced instinctively at the rearview mirror, then the side mirrors. Nothing but fog and trees and my own headlights reflected dimly in the glass. No silhouette, no movement. "This is stupid," I murmured, the sound of my voice too loud in the car. Someone crossed the road, that's all. But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't true. The forest here was thick, choked with undergrowth. Anyone coming from either side would have left marks. Mud dragged onto the asphalt, broken twigs, something. And bare feet? On a night this cold? The dashboard clock read 12:31 a.m. The digits flickered faintly, then stabilized. The radio played low, some distant station crackling through static. A woman's voice drifted in and out, her words indistinct, stretched thin as if spoken underwater. I rolled forward again, slowly, tires whispering over the wet impressions. The car passed through them, the headlights lifting each footprint into sharp relief before letting it slide beneath the hood. I half expected the tires to smear them, erase them. In the mirror, they were still there, perfect, untouched. A shiver crawled up my spine. I told myself it was just the cold, just the late hour pressing tricks into my thoughts. I increased my speed, the engine responding eagerly, the road unspooling ahead once more. The fog thickened. It crept closer to the windshield, beads of moisture forming along the glass, blurring the edges of my vision. I turned on the defroster. The fan whined softly, but the fog didn't retreat as much as it should have. Instead, it seemed to swirl in slow, deliberate patterns, as if stirred by something just out of sight. The GPS chimed. "Continue straight," it said. I frowned. The screen showed my position drifting along a thin gray line, but the surrounding map was empty. No side roads, no terrain, just black. A mile passed, maybe 2. Then my headlights caught something else on the road. More footprints. These were closer together, the stride shorter. They glistened the same way, wet and sharply defined, but there were more of them now, stretching farther ahead than before. Again, they began in the center of the lane, and again they ended abruptly, dissolving into nothing. I felt my throat tighten. My hands clamped around the wheel. "No," I whispered. The radio crackled louder, the woman's voice resolving for just a moment. "Not lost," she said. I snapped the radio off. Silence rushed in, thick and oppressive. Without the background noise, every sound felt amplified. The faint hiss of the tires, the soft click of cooling metal, my own breathing, shallow and uneven. The footprints appeared again a few minutes later. And then again. Each time they were slightly different. Sometimes the toes pointed inward, as if the walker had been tired. Sometimes the heel dragged. Once, I noticed a faint smear beside one print, like a foot slipping before catching balance. Details you only notice when you're paying too much attention. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe runoff from a nearby trail. Maybe someone was playing a prank, darting across the road between passes. But the timing didn't work. The isolation didn't work. And the way the footprints never once crossed the center line, never strayed toward either shoulder, it felt intentional. Like a path. The GPS spoke again, unprompted. Recalculating. The screen blinked. The map redrew itself, the road curving slightly to the left now, though I hadn't felt any turn beneath the tires. My speedometer needle trembled, wavering between numbers. I realized then that the footprints were no longer random. They were spaced to match my speed. When I slowed, the distance between them shortened. When I sped up, the stride lengthened. Always just far enough ahead that I saw them in time to react, but never close enough to reach whatever made them. My chest felt tight, like something heavy was sitting on it. "What do you want?" I asked the empty road. The fog ahead parted briefly. Not enough to reveal a figure. Just enough to show that the footprints didn't end anymore. They continued beyond the reach of my headlights, vanishing into darkness that felt deeper than the rest. I followed them. I don't remember deciding to. I just did. Each time the road forked, though I couldn't recall seeing forks on the map, I took the direction the footprints led. The forest grew denser. The fog thinned, replaced by a damp, metallic smell that reminded me of rain-soaked concrete and cold stone. The dashboard lights dimmed slightly, then brightened again. The clock read 12:31. Still, the final stretch of road dipped into a shallow hollow. My headlights swept over something pale ahead, and my heart lurched before I understood what I was seeing. The footprints stopped. In front of my car, illuminated starkly against the asphalt, were two wet impressions facing me. Toes pointed inward, closed together, as if someone were standing there, waiting. But there was no one, just the suggestion of presence, the echo of weight. Behind them, overlapping faintly, were another set of prints, larger, deeper, pressed into the road at the exact width of my tires. I stared, breath held, as the implications settled coldly into place. These weren't warnings left behind for me to find. They were markers, each set showing where it was safe to stand, where the road would hold, where I had already passed. The GPS spoke one last time, its voice softer than before, almost satisfied. "You've arrived." The engine died, and in the sudden, total silence, I understood that the footprints hadn't been leading me away from something. They had been teaching me where to walk when the road finally ended. The truck behind me honked, but when I looked back, there was no driver. The sound startled me more than it should have. A single, sharp blast of the horn, close enough that it vibrated faintly through my seat. I flinched and checked the rearview mirror, my eyes adjusting to the glare of headlights flooding the back window. The truck filled the lane behind me. A tall, boxy silhouette, dull white, its grille dark and unreadable. Old model. No company markings. No decorative lights. Just two headlights and the higher amber running lights glowing steadily above them. I leaned slightly to get a better angle through the mirror. The cab was empty. No hands on the wheel. No head silhouetted against the windshield. Just darkness inside, broken only by the faint reflection of my own taillights on the glass. A cold prickle ran along my arms. "Okay," I muttered. "Okay." The highway stretched on through dense forest, trees packed so tightly on either side that they formed a wall of black beyond the shoulders. Fog drifted in low bands across the road, thin enough that the headlights cut through it but thick enough to soften everything beyond a few dozen meters. There were no other cars, no exit signs, just the faint white lines slipping beneath me in a steady rhythm. I told myself it was the angle, or glare, or fatigue. Anyone driving this late would see things. The truck honked again. 2 short bursts this time, insistent. My grip tightened on the wheel. I slowed slightly, easing down from 90 to 85. The truck matched me instantly, maintaining the same distance, the headlights never wavering. I checked the mirror again. Still no driver. The radio murmured quietly, A low-frequency hiss threaded with fragments of a song I didn't recognize. The signal faded in and out, the melody stretching and compressing in a way that made my temples ache. I reached over and turned the volume down until it was barely there. The horn stayed silent. For a few minutes, nothing happened. The road curved gently, the forest bending with it. The fog thickened, beads of moisture forming on the windshield. I turned on the wipers. They squeaked softly, clearing a narrow arc before the haze crept back in. I risked another glance at the mirror. The truck was closer now. Not tailgating, just nearer than before, as if closing the gap gradually. I could see more detail. Chips in the paint, rust blooming faintly along the edges of the hood. The windshield was dark, opaque, reflecting the road behind us instead of revealing the interior. "No," I whispered, unsure who I was speaking to. The GPS chimed. "Continue straight," it said. The screen showed a single line, my position inching along it. No side roads, no landmarks. The estimated arrival time field was blank. I swallowed and focused on the road ahead. The horn blared again, longer this time. Urgent. I jumped, heart slamming into my ribs. "What?" I said aloud, my voice thin. Instinctively, I checked my speed. 80. Well below anything dangerous. My lights were on. No warning indicators glowed on the dashboard. The car felt fine. The truck drifted slightly to the left, its headlights angling toward the centerline, then settled back behind me. It was signaling. A shiver worked its way up my spine. I slowed again, down to 75. The truck slowed too. I sped up, pulse racing. The truck kept pace, the distance unchanged, the engine noise behind me a low, steady presence I felt more than heard. "Stop it," I said, though my voice lacked conviction. The radio crackled suddenly, volume surging without warning. Static flooded the car, then cut to a man's voice, calm, even. "Don't stop here," he said. I slapped the power button. The radio went dead, leaving a silence so complete it felt like pressure on my ears. The forest began to change. The trees grew thinner, their trunks taller, straighter, spaced at unsettlingly regular intervals. The fog lifted slightly, revealing more of the road ahead, though the darkness beyond the headlights felt deeper, layered. A sign emerged on the right shoulder. "No stopping, next 10 miles. I frowned. I didn't remember seeing signs like that on this stretch. I checked the mirror again. The truck honked once. Short, affirming. My heart started to pound harder, a rhythm that seemed to sync with the hum of the tires. I felt watched, not hunted exactly but monitored, like a test was underway and I was failing to understand the rules. The GPS spoke again. "Maintain speed." I laughed, a brittle sound. "You don't get to tell me that." Almost immediately, the car shuddered. Just a brief stutter. Engine misfiring, dashboard lights flickering dimly before stabilizing. My breath caught. I eased off the accelerator in reflex. The truck honked. Sharp, commanding. I stared at the speedometer. 72. The needle wavered, then dipped lower. The engine sputtered again, longer this time, the vibration traveling up through the pedals. "Fine," I whispered, panic rising. I pressed the gas. The engine smoothed out instantly. Behind me, the truck fell back a fraction, as if satisfied. I didn't look at the mirror for a while after that. The road began to slope downward, a gentle descent into a shallow valley. The fog returned, thicker now, clinging to the asphalt like breath on glass. My headlights reflected back at me in the mist, creating the illusion of movement, shapes forming and dissolving just at the edge of vision. The truck's headlights cut through it cleanly, unwavering. I realized then that I could no longer hear its engine, just the tires, the air displacement, as if it were coasting endlessly without effort. The horn sounded again, but softer, almost conversational. I finally looked. The cab was still empty, but something else had changed. The windshield reflection now showed the road ahead instead of behind. Yellow lines stretching forward, perfectly aligned, as if the truck were seeing through my eyes. A tight, Cold understanding began to settle in my gut. The GPS flickered. The map zoomed in, the road narrowing until it filled the screen. A single message appeared at the bottom. Do not turn off. The highway ahead split. It wasn't marked as an exit, just a subtle divergence, the right side dipping into a darker stretch of forest, the left remaining straight, lit faintly by distant, amber glows far off, like a town or rest stop. Relief surged through me at the sight of lights. I flicked on my turn signal, heart racing. The horn exploded behind me. Not a warning blast. A sustained, furious roar that rattled the windows and sent a spike of pure fear through my chest. The engine sputtered violently. The steering wheel stiffened in my hands, resisting the turn. No, 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 I gasped. In the mirror, the truck loomed larger, closer than it had any right to be. For the first time, I saw something in the cab. Not a driver. Shapes. Tall, indistinct forms pressed together where seats should have been, their outlines wrong, their attention fixed forward. On me. The horn cut off abruptly. The truck drifted into the other lane, pulling alongside me with terrifying ease. Its windows were dark, but I felt the weight of its presence like a physical force. Then it surged ahead, positioning itself directly in front of my car, blocking the road. Its brake lights flared briefly, slowing me just enough to force my choice. Left. The moment I straightened the wheel, the resistance vanished. The engine steadied. The truck accelerated, resuming its place behind me, the distance precise once more. The lights to the right faded quickly, swallowed by trees. The GPS spoke softly. Good. The road ahead narrowed, the forest closing in, the fog thinning into nothing. I felt hollow, drained, like I'd been holding my breath for hours. After a long while, minutes, maybe, the truck's headlights dimmed. It slowed, falling back farther and farther until it was just another shape in the dark. Then it honked once. Not angry, not urgent. Farewell. It turned off the road without a ramp, disappearing cleanly into the trees, leaving no sound, no disturbance. I drove on alone. Later, much later, I found the place where the right-hand road would have led. In daylight, on a map, there was nothing there. No town, no rest stop, just a sharp drop-off where the highway ended abruptly, as if it had been torn away. I understand now. The truck hadn't been chasing me. It hadn't been threatening me. It had been making sure I didn't stop, didn't turn, didn't see what waits for drivers who pull over when the road decides they've gone far enough.